So I found this guy on YouTube, Tad Stoermer, Stoermer, and his perspective is really cool, and I really like what he's doing. And I disagree with some of it because he's still talking about how great uh, John Adams was or Madison was. Um, in other words, he's criticizing some of the founders, and but not but finding more elegant ones, I suppose, is the deal. And it's not so much, I've never met them, but when you're in a current society, our current society, and you never run into these demigods. Um, I can't think of a demigod. I mean, Christopher Hitchens would be close, but it's not somebody I can see the flaws in Hitchens, but he is certainly was certainly a blazing talent, and those people are very rare. Malcolm X, Fred Hampton come to my mind. Um, um, Germaine Greer comes to my mind. Toni Morrison comes to my mind, but they're very rare. And the idea that you would have 53 of them in a hot summer in Philadelphia, all buzzing on the same thing. There's this sort of Stoermer's point. Anyway, I will never know, though I might have done years ago, why historians feel they are therapists. Shakespeare dealt in a sort of Herodotus history, which worked like this. I wasn't there, but I talked to a lot of people, and this is how it might have happened, and what might have been said by King Henry the 11th. The Delian dialogues are a perfect example. The symposium did not happen. It is theatre. Now we have the internet, and almost everyone carries a movie camera, so the makers of history are either caught with their pants down, the creators of history are either caught with their pants down or are learning their lines manically, polishing their performance before the press conference of life. My meter goes straight to tilt when these appalling performances are debuted. If AOC had a self, why does she go on Instagram cooing like a Kardashian? I just want to touch base with everybody. You're not touching base, honey. There is no dialogue. You are behind a theatrical fourth wall doing your soliloquy, not at all convincingly. And yet you do it. On the advice of well-paid experts in advertising, revealing no real instinct that is you, they will swear, this well-paid community, that you must. They'll powder your nose and film you like a sex kitten, and you do it. And my dear, quote, it takes from your achievement, though performed at height, the very pith and marrow of your attribute. And you should know this, not wait for some expert to tell you, or me. You have no clue. Plastic surgeons have a lot of work done on themselves, advertisers. I see future employment for actors and screenwriters when AI has taken all their legitimate jobs training politicians. Things will get really bad then. The root of the Ken Burns syndrome, drenched in sobbing music and coyoted, is the demand for this kind of art. Burns made Unforgivable Blackness, which moved me. Could it have been made otherwise? Probably, but I am moved by his art, depending on the story. Jack Johnson was a mighty and a difficult man. The source for the film was a better book, so the nuance was built in, and it was a mostly unknown story. And there is film. Not so for the founders. They are made for Herodotus, which is great if we are capable of knowing the difference. We can smile and know the difference between what is real and what is just myth that feeds our tremendous need. And that's the issue. The trouble with Burns for me and Meacham, etc., is that the exceptionalism they insist upon seems personal. Their founders are to them intellectual heroes. They are groupies, the Babe Ruths of the highly educated. As the founders fare, so fare Burns and Meacham in their fans' eyes. all natural, except someday somebody might find fandom no longer a priority. The work might reassure us one day that these productions are no more about history than Downton Abbey. I remember having a cozy feelings about historical eras, not huge, but there, but pretty much not necessary after 15. It is good to know what one needs, feels good when attending to. The horror of the new Burns show is one feels it is aimed at our inner 14-year-olds, like most TV advertising. Being 14 again is always lovely, and 14 never goes away, but there are other ages and stages unavoidable, and each contains their glory. Each nourishes us. The best years of your life, mate, are now. Hankering after makes bad politics and is actually far from the purpose of democracy. Someone will shout from the pews, "Come on, man, it's entertainment." And I'll say easily, yes, it is. And that is where we are at. If leadership has a job, I don't think it does in a real world. Our reliance on the habit is the definition of insanity. But since it is what we do, leaders should be bold enough to say, we need to be real here and stop peddling fantasy. It is not the truth or falseness of exceptionalism that matters. It's the stunning need to believe in it. And this moves silently among us all the time. Yeah. That's, again, it goes back to the God thing, is since we're conditioned to it from birth, most of us, that we embed into our going forward way of looking at the world. We embed these mythologies, and they're well crafted since Moses. They've been well done to if you tell a people that you're historically, you've been persecuted and enslaved, even if that actually is what happened, it is not useful to them as adults. It's a story that will perpetuate itself, right? So, and it seems that, we all feel, oh God, I'm in the world alone. I can't remember that feeling. I remember several times when I was very young, being suddenly isolated or something like that, and frightened. My mom had wandered off somewhere, or I was, I did a lot of crazy stuff in nature, climbing trees and stuff. And you get to a point where you go, oh shit, I can't get down. I've climbed too high. I lost my nerve. You get shot with adrenaline, and that's when you need to get out of the tree. And then something happens and you relax. I remember one time, years and years ago, I was 7, 8, and I was swimming in the ocean, and we were allowed to do that in Trinidad, the mighty ocean. And my father was walking along the beach, and I could see him sort of a long way off, 30, 40 yards away, because I was right out where the breakers were. And I got stuck. I couldn't get the beach side of the breakers. And I shouted and I waved and I like this, and he waved back, thinking that there was, I was fooling around or just waving. And I was stuck and I couldn't get back in. And suddenly something said, go under the water. And I did. I just took a big breath and went down. And in those days, we swam under seawater with our eyes wide open. And I knew instinctively I swim under the wave and I would come back beachside, which is what happened. And as I was swimming there, I looked down beneath me, and right down, 30 feet down, was a very, very large fish moving with that telltale movement. And I thought, oh my God, but here I am, alive.